10K back to school haul.
$3,000 back to school haul. No!
These hauls are not normal. Spending thousands of dollars on clothing is not normal.
I was burning through my six-figure salary on clothes, overspending in a constant effort to live out this fantasy version of my style that I couldn't afford.
I do think shopping addiction needs to be taken more seriously.
She looked like she had it all: stylish outfits, viral try-ons and a dream closet, but behind the perfect Instagram grid was a growing secret. Over $30,000 in debt, all from shopping. This is the story of Hannah Blass, a 26-year-old whose addiction to fashion spiraled into a financial nightmare, and she's not alone. In the age of fast fashion, buy now pay later apps and endless social media pressure, more and more people are silently drowning in debt just to keep up. So how does someone go from casually shopping to owing more than they can ever pay back? And what does it say about the culture we've created around fashion, self-worth and spending? Hi babes, my name's Taja, mother of twins, lover of luxe things and your guide for showing up with style and intention. If you're not a stranger here on this channel, then you guys know that I love a haul, okay? I enjoy a fashion haul, I enjoy styling videos, and so I can definitely understand the appeal, not only from creators, but from viewers around fashion hauling culture, fashion shopping culture. However, I think that we have got to a point where it's all a bit out of hand, okay? The level of overconsumption just seems to be getting more and more absurd. As somebody who enjoys fashion but is exceptionally tall, I've always enjoyed watching fashion styling and hauling content from creators who look like me or share my dimensions. I can see how that kind of content is worthwhile. However, what I think has been born out of social media and hauling culture for the younger generation is overconsumption, and this is demonstrated in the case of Hannah Blass. Hannah is now a 29-year-old Canadian who was earning a six-figure salary working in fashion marketing. Despite her high income, she found herself burning through her paycheck every month, and the main reason was her severe shopping addiction. Hannah was spending around $1,700 a month on clothes alone, which quickly added up to over $50,000 in credit card debt. Her job in fashion marketing actually made things worse because being surrounded by trends and stylish products constantly triggered her impulse to buy more.
This was also the time that YouTube and Instagram really started to blow up, and I think the influencer culture that was really growing at the time definitely influenced the increase in my shopping. Once I graduated and got a big girl job, I thought that my new salary would be enough to pay down my debt and still allow me to shop at the level that I was shopping. But in reality, I just shopped more and more, and any dent that I did put on that credit card balance just was reversed with a few online orders.
The cycle of compulsive shopping, credit card debt and growing anxiety became overwhelming. A turning point for her was in 2023 when she got engaged and decided that she needed to turn her life around. By October 2024, Hannah was able to clear her debt, but this isn't always the story for your average fashion overconsumer. And as we've discussed many times here before, there are many people who are getting themselves in tons and tons of debt, buying clothes, accessories and shoes. And this is coming from somebody who loves shopping, guys. I love shopping, I love fashion, I love styling, and I even enjoy a good haul, right? But even for me, it is just so much. And I have been seeing popping up here and there the conversation around back to school hauls, and my curiosity led me to back to school haul TikTok, and I'm actually shocked. There were a few that really made me wonder, where are we getting this money from, guys? Because when well, first of all, I went to a school that wore uniforms, so back to school, there wasn't really a back to school haul. I mean, I'd get a new pair of shoes and a new coat and maybe a new uniform, new blazer. But my parents definitely weren't spending thousands of pounds on me for back to school. But there's this creator called Jules, and she's done a back to school haul that is £10,000, guys.
10K back to school haul. I know that this is like around 10K. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm gonna go through really quick for my low attention span girlies. H&M top, bodysuit, pink skirt. I'm gonna have to tailor.
Skirt. I don't know. I mean, people are wearing all sorts, which is another conversation, but the kids are wearing all sorts to school. I would say that this skirt's a bit too short, right? At my school anyway, we had to have skirts that were at the knee. So, okay.
I'm obviously in college, not school, and I'm using a Balenciaga City bag as my college bag. Gold Izzy's.
And she's wearing a Balenciaga City bag as her school bag. There are, of course, levels, right? So if you come from a wealthy family and you want to wear a Balenciaga City bag to school, then that's within your right. I don't want to sound like a big fat hater, Okay, if she wants to wear a Balenciaga City bag to school, then that's fine. I just think that the consequence of some of the social media culture around fashion and hauling has meant that there are young people who are sharing $10,000 hauls to go to school. And I just think the focus is on the wrong things. Of course, from a creator perspective, I can understand, because as I've discussed before, this kind of massive hauling gets attention. You know, I'm here watching it, right? It gets attention. It will make people pause, because £10,000 for back to school. And there was a time where this type of very large hauling was very popular on the internet, but it was usually done by adults. Okay, and so I think what's happening is everything is just getting more and more and more extreme, as it relates to most things actually, but especially around fashion content and beauty content. It's just getting more extreme, because you have to be more extreme to get the views, you know, and to stand out. But that means that you are a teen with a focus on buying lots of stuff, and I'm not sure if that's the best focus.
I got this bag too, not for college, just because I thought it was cute. Plain top, this Hollister jumper, white micro skirt, it's really creased. Linen trousers from Subdued, restock on Hair Supplies. This Vanilla Tree Hut spray, and it's so good. Using oil and Hello Kitty star face. These low-rise Playboy jeans. I always have at least 4 Sephora bags for you guys.
It sounds like she's in college. Okay, so here in the UK, I mean, she'd still be under 21. Low-rise Playboy jeans? I don't know. Maybe I'm a prude. I don't know, but that's a choice. And then she just picks up some accessories.
YSL blush, my favourite spot.
YSL stuff.
Merit bronzer and Merit blush. Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. Kelly perfumes, Ajax. This has been my go-to perfume for so long now. This is Tom Ford Cherry Smoke, and it's so nice. NARS concealer, Bass Glow Drops. More of the
Tom Ford perfume.
Joggers.
Okay, nice haul, right? But part of the reason why I think it's really important for us to be outside is because if you are habitually online as a younger person, it can really start to feel like these kind of hauls are normal or should be something that you aspire to. And I just think it's really unrealistic. And in some ways, it's not necessarily the fault of the creator, because a lot of the times content is driven by consumers. So if I make something that you don't watch, chances are I'm probably not going to make it again, or I'm going to be less inclined to make that kind of content. However, if I do a £10,000 back to school haul and you watch, then chances are I'm going to do more content like that, and or people are going to see that I got attention for that content and they're going to want to mimic that content, which is what we have seen happen across all of the platforms really. And there have been endless headlines around influencers getting themselves in loads and loads of debt to make content. So just spending loads of money, putting it on credit cards like Hannah did, using Afterpay, using Claire Pay, using PayPal Pay, using all those kind of apps to fund being able to buy clothes, and then maybe hauling those clothes with the idea that at some point they're going to become a very large influencer, which happens to some, but definitely not the majority. And even those who it happens for, becoming well known online does not always equal money. So you can spend lots of money on a haul and become known, become familiar to your viewers, but that doesn't always translate to money. Maybe you'd get money from the views, but normally money from views, especially from platforms like TikTok, is not a lot. There's another back to school haul from somebody called Elisa Courtney, and her initial post, which has loads of views actually, is essentially a room full of stuff. Not only are we maybe in a recession, or at least approaching one, but that is just so over the top. So she does this haul.
Before I get into this, I'm just gonna say I bought most of this with my own money, and then I'm super grateful for everything I did get, and yeah.
Bless her. She said she bought all of it with her own money. Maybe she's got a little job, I don't know.
Start with Target. First got this top, and the same top in green. I then got this top, and then this top. This isn't for school, but I got this bikini top. I then got this shirt. I got these Uggs. I got these Uggs.
The Uggs are a choice. The Uggs are a choice. Okay, so basically she's unboxing all of her stuff. I can acknowledge that the school culture in America does seem to be much different than it is here. So I do understand there are of course schools here where you can wear your own clothes, but it's also not unusual to have to wear a uniform. And actually in my video about people not knowing how to dress, we were having a conversation around the different perception of dress etiquette from people who have been to school and have had to wear uniform and people who haven't. When I was younger, I didn't mind school uniform because my understanding of it was more that it was just so that there wasn't this competition. You know, some of these creators are hauling Uggs or Jordans or Nikes and all of the name brand stuff, right? And there are some kids who cannot afford that. So having to wear a uniform just removes that complete conversation. There aren't people who are being bullied. Hypothetically, there aren't people who are at school being bullied because they don't have a pair of Nike trainers or they don't have the most up-to-date jacket or, you know, things like that because they've got uniforms on.
All schools should be uniform because it just makes it easier on the parents and it prevents bullying. And all you got to worry about is buying the school uniform shirts, some khaki pants, some baby doll shoes, or some black shoes. Easy for the parents, easy for the teachers, easier for the kids. They don't have to be bullied. They don't have to worry about what they're wearing for the day.
Like, it just makes no sense for parents to be having to break the bank just to buy new clothes. I get that kids grow, so irregardless, you're going to have to buy them clothes. But for school, let them all wear the same thing. Like, I'm sorry, they ain't got no job to be talking about, oh, I want some Balenciagas, I want some whatever they be wearing. Like, no.
There is an element of fashion propaganda that I think these kind of hauls feed into. Because of the time of year, I think that these kind of back to school hauls are more popular, but there is definitely a trend depending on the season with these kind of hauls. You know, you've got huge summer hauls, huge vacation hauls, huge Shein hauls. The Shein hauls go crazy, okay? The huge Shein hauls where people have like 100 pieces. Although this is not necessarily a critique of the particular creators, because in some ways I can understand why they're doing it. Usually it's attention and money based, right? Which seems to be the reason why most things happen in society nowadays. But this kind of influencer culture does create social pressure for some of their followers. And I am definitely not anti-fashion, guys. I think I've said it 5 times now. I love fashion, okay? I just think it's really important to be conscious about what you're consuming. And sometimes this does mean leaning away from fast fashion. And I generally have mixed feelings around the use of fast fashion because it is generally problematic. However, I can definitely understand why some people feel the need to shop there. There are loads of people who just don't have the money. Maybe you just don't have the money, but you've got a new job, you need to find an outfit, and so off you go to Shein to pick up something to wear for your interview. I can understand that logic, and sometimes when I hear fast fashion discussed online, it can feel really utopian.
Just because you have the means to shop at Dior and you buy 100 Dior bags, that does not make you better than the person shopping at Shein. There's people that are broke, they can't afford anything more than Shein. Why should you shame them for shopping at Shein if that's what they can afford? Even if you can afford more, allow people to shop where they want, but educate them as to why they shouldn't shop there. And also, let me tell you this, if you order 10 million things from Vinted, is that being sustainable? No, it's not. It's all about consumerism.
Of course, in the ideal world, we wouldn't be purchasing product that is made by exploited workers. Of course, we wouldn't be supporting companies that don't pay their employees fairly. But even some of the controversies that have taken place within luxury fashion in more recent times has demonstrated that even sometimes when you think you might be making a more ethical purchasing decision by spending maybe a bit more money on your clothes, investing in more staple pieces, that even those companies are exploiting their workers and using cheap labor. I don't think it means that you shouldn't make any effort at all. And if you are in a position where you can more consciously shop, then that of course should be your first option. And I also don't think the other extreme is practical either, with just taking like £2,000 and going crazy at Shein. I can't see why there is ever a need for that either, outside of attention. And the rise of content creators who seem to be getting younger and younger, doing these massive, humongous hauls, which I actually thought we were moving away from, but clearly not on TikTok, okay? So this growing trend that seems to be popular amongst the youngsters, and then also people getting themselves in lots and lots of debt to either support their own shopping habit or I mean, somebody's buying all of these clothes for the kids. So maybe you've got kids and you're just doing tons and tons of shopping for them. Does affect the way that we all engage with shopping, fashion and beauty.
Watch enough hauls, you're gonna start to think, okay, well, if she could spend the money, then why can't I? She looks good. That looks cute. I want it too. And believe me, I've been there. I chased after those luxury bags and shoes and jackets. And even after I got those things, all I was me with a fancy jacket and a whole lot less money in my bank account.
And so I think it's just really important that we are all conscious of trends that we're buying into, how we are shopping, why we are shopping, why are we maybe buying 15 tops and 25 bottoms when we've got a wardrobe full of clothes? You know, maybe just second guessing whether we actually need the thing. Are we buying into trends because we actually like the trend or because somebody online told us they thought it was cute?
Just a quick little reminder, if you are seeing all of these, massive hauls from all of these influencers spending thousands and thousands of dollars on clothing every single season, I want you to know that that's not normal, okay? Your actual normal person cannot afford to do that every single season. Most of these influencers, they're being either gifted all of this clothing or they're buying all of this clothing, trying it on, doing their little haul, returning majority of it, or they're in crippling debt. And you do not want to be in crippling debt doing that.
I think a lot of the issues that some people get themselves into nowadays when it comes to engaging with social media has a lot to do with, respectfully, not living in the real world, like just being online way too much. And I think the reason for it is quite complex, but some of it has to do with the breakdown of community. We all need to make sure we've got friends, okay? And if we don't have friends, we've got cousins or we've got parents or we've got siblings that we can sit down and talk, right? Talk about things like fashion and clothing and actually what I think is the main purpose for fashion, which is styling, right? You can buy all the things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are presented well or that you look great, right? It's all more about how you wear the things. And so if it's more about how you wear the things or how you want to present yourself as a person, then it's not so much about buying everything.
I want to let you in on a little style secret. If you want to dress better in 2025, you need to stop shopping and start styling the clothes you already own. I know this goes against everything the media tells you, but the reason you have a closet full of clothes and nothing to wear is because you never learned how to style your clothes.
Buying a handbag when you haven't paid your rent is wild. It is astonishing to me that anybody needs to hear that, because I think it's not unreasonable to presume that people would know that. You know, buying things on a credit card when you haven't paid your rent is not the right thing to do. If nobody else has told you, I'm here to tell you. Personally, if you've got £10,000 spare and you are in your late teens, your early 20s, maybe you like to shop, right? So maybe take a third of it, right? Go and do your shopping, and then with the rest of it, try and think of something you can do with it that will make the money grow, okay? And I know it's quite cliche to say invest and all that kind of stuff, and most of the time the people who are telling you to invest aren't even investing themselves, right? But open a bank account and create an ISA. It's very simple. Make sure it's an ISA, put the money in there, and if you're 18, in 20 years, it will gain interest. And by the time you're ready to take it out, it will have a bit more in there than what you put in. Like, try to think about financial literacy. All of these things are more important than spending a boatload on clothes or racking up a credit card. And actually, another tip about the credit card is I always hear people talk about, oh, you know, I opened a credit card because I want to build my credit. And yes, but if you open a credit card and you cannot pay it off, it does worse for your credit than just not having a credit card at all. You will be in a better financial position never having a credit card than you would be having a credit card and not paying it off. And this is coming from somebody who's only ever had 2 credit cards, okay? And I think I had my first credit card at like 24, okay? I have pretty perfect credit. I feel like sometimes social media and even banks kind of put this pressure on you, like, oh, you need to have a credit card to be a grown-up, and then you need to spend on that credit card to have good credit, when I don't think it's a fair and accurate depiction of actually what's going on. The banks want you to take a credit card because when you default on your payments, they make money. So it's in their benefit to tell you to get a credit card. However, I don't actually think you really need one. If you want one, you want one, but I don't necessarily think it's necessarily a need. So what do you think about fashion overconsumption and getting in debt to go shopping? How many credit cards do you have? If you don't mind sharing, let us know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.